Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, good. So I'm Jessica from CreateFuture. I'm going to be talking tonight about hacking Google Venture sprints to come up with creative ideas. I handily brought along Dave Ward, our creative director, my co-founder. So if there's any difficult questions, I'm going to ask him instead. Okay, so agile marketing, that's what we're all here to learn about. The team out cases are going to very much focus on the technical side of things and an agile marketing approach. So I get to talk about the creative side of it. So having great ideas and having them faster. So very quickly, because most of you know us, but just why am I, or Dave and I, qualified to talk about this? So we started CreateFuture a couple of years ago to help adventurous brands imagine, explore, and create their future. So that's our cheesy line. But really, we use design thinking in brand and marketing, product innovation, and we help teams to do better marketing and to be better marketeers. So there we are. We look younger there. We were younger, but that was literally my kitchen table when we started the business 2.5 years ago. And we wanted to do it differently. And I think that's why we're really passionate about using sprints and why we believe that you can use Google Venture sprints specifically to come up with creative ideas, because we were all, we worked in agency. My background is a digital agency, and we believe that you could do things differently. We felt that things were often very slow. They weren't very collaborative and not always very fun. And there's some people in this room that I have worked on projects with over the years, and some of it's been fun, some of it not so fun. So there's different ways that we think you can get, why sprints are great for creative ideas. First of all, is getting more from the team that you've got. So often there's really talented people with the clients that we work with, in the teams that we work with. In the traditional model, often those people don't get to work on the problems that they're trying to solve. They hand them off to agencies. So we think that those teams should get to work on the marketing, the creative problems. Break it faster. So actually, there's no reason why creative ideas should take months to come to fruition. And having fun. So that's our mantra: fun, fast, and collaborative. So is there a shortcut to great ideas? So there's a bit of a myth that great ideas happen in the shower, have that epiphany, that eureka moment, and that's how you get great ideas. Or you hire Don Draper, which I have to say, I wouldn't mind having Don Draper around. No offense, Dave, but you hire a big gun like Don Draper, who basically is this black artist, this amazing talent that nobody else has, and only he can come up with the great ideas. We do not agree with that. We do not believe that you need to be Don Draper to come up with creative ideas. So I'm going to talk about Google Venture sprints. Some of you in the room will know what these are. Hands up, who has ran a Google Venture sprint or been part of a GV sprint? Okay, about half. So I am going to go through the process so that everybody knows it, because it's a great technique that you can use for anything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to interject it with some hacks of how you can use it for creative ideation. All right, so this is the process. Very high level, 5 days. You move pretty fast. Day 1, map out the problem. Day 2, sketch out some ideas. Day 3, decide what ideas you're going to take forward. Day 4, prototype, so make something. And day 5, test it. So really simple. But to set yourself up for success, before you begin, you need to gather your team. You need a room. This is a room we actually worked in overlooking St. Paul's in the city, which kind of looked like a bank heist, didn't it? It looked like we were planning a bank heist, so we really loved that. But you need space, and you need a week. The week bit is often the most challenging. Actually getting people in a room for a week is really hard. Don't need a week. So that would be my first hack. You can do this in 2 or 3 days, and then you can do the prototyping and the testing afterwards. So that would be my first hack. You don't need a full week. And once you're comfortable with the process, you can mix it up a little bit. I think what I would say as well with, if you're running these kind of sprints in a team that's maybe more a traditional marketing team, they're not as familiar with the process. So for those of you that work in digital teams and product teams, you're running sprints all the time. You're used to agile sprints. You will have innovation teams that are running GV sprints. It's more familiar territory. You're used to working in time-boxed, focused bursts of activity. In marketing, in our experience, often marketeers are not as familiar in working this way. It's just not the way things have been done. So you need to take people on the journey. You need to get people comfortable with how you're going to work. That you are going to take the brakes off a little bit. You are going to be doing things in a week and not in 3 months. And things aren't going to be perfect either, and they might go wrong, and that scares people. So you've got to get everybody on board, and that includes your senior stakeholders. So not just your project team, but actually getting people that are going to have to come in and make decisions, or people that are going to be affected by the outcome of the sprint, get them bought into it as well. And once you've done that, the rest is pretty easy. So the first day is mapping. So this is a beautiful customer journey map. I'm not sure what this one, I think it's Expedia. Yeah, so it's booking a holiday. So the idea is that you put down your actors on the left, as they call them. So in this case, you've got your traveler, you've got the internet, you've got the company, Expedia, and you're mapping the journey from beginning to end. So it should be reasonably simple. You take about an hour to do this. If you're running this for creative ideas, what you're looking for is more places to interact, so places to engage with people. If you're running it for perhaps a journey, like a digital journey or something more product-based, you're often looking for pain points to focus on. But if you're doing it for creative ideas, it's often about where we can engage with people. Another great tool you can use is the CX Infinity Loop, where you're actually looking at more loyalty, advocacy. So that's another one that you can use if you're looking at marketing. Whilst you're doing the mapping then, so How Might We's is a great tool that you can use when you're running sprints as well. What it does is as people capture, so often when people are working workshops, on projects, everybody takes notes in their own notebook, which is great, but it means after the project, all that great information, great insight is in those notebooks that gets closed, it gets put in a drawer and kind of lost. By asking everyone to capture those notes, those questions, those thoughts in the same format on a post-it note, so this is How Might We, which is HMW, what you're doing is you're putting it in a format, phraseology that is positive, so it's an opportunity. So for any kind of naysayers in the room, you're getting them to think about the opportunity rather than negatives. It means you've got a consistent way of capturing all the notes, which helps when you're then doing your synthesis. And it also means that everything's up on the wall and together, which then means you can group, you can find themes, etc. So it's kind of like your hive mind for your sprint, and it's up on the wall. But you can literally use that in any workshop. It's a really good tool. All right, Tuesday then. It's sketching. So the first thing you do on the second day in a sprint is actually share inspiration. So they call it lightning demos in the Google Ventures. And it's really coming up with ways other people have achieved what you want to achieve, how other people have. So usually at this stage, if you're doing a campaign sprint, a creative ideas sprint, it's just awesome campaign ideas, really cool stuff that other people have done. If you're trying to tackle something more functional, like how to improve your conversion journey on an application form, for example, you might be looking at interesting UI patterns, or even just like lovely UI design that other people have used. How have they solved the same problem? Then what you're doing is capturing that on a whiteboard, again, in a shorthand way to help people remember those other examples. When you're doing it for creative ideas, you'll get lots of like nice, lovely campaign ideas and other things that people have done, but it's about understanding the emotional triggers as well. So not just, oh, we're trying to sell a car, let's look at how other people have sold a car. Maybe it's about, okay, how can I keep my family safe? So have a look at how other people have communicated that. How have they communicated that they'll keep your family safe? Then we get sketching. So this is usually the main, at this point, everyone goes, I can't draw, I'm not creative. Everybody's creative. Even I can draw. So if you can draw that well, you can be part of this process. Because it's about communicating an idea. It's not about making something that looks amazing. All right. So by this point in a sprint, you have hundreds, well, in fact, we've had up to 40 ideas, I think, in one sprint. And you sketch the idea. So this is a very structured process. So in the afternoon on the Tuesday, which is day 2, you're taken through a very structured process to come up with ideas. And what you do to get there is you kind of absorb all of the information that as a team you've come up with together, and then come up with your solution sketch. So this is an example of a solution sketch on the right-hand side. Again, this was for Expedia, so it's a campaign idea. So the Great American Block Party. I think the other thing to say at this point is a lot of this is done in silence. So a lot of this is done everybody working on their own. You know, it's not a collaborative process at this stage, and that gives the introverts more time to think. Yeah, it works really well, doesn't it? Once all the ideas then are put up on the wall, and literally at this stage it's like an art gallery, so you've got them all pinned up on the wall, the team votes. So you get sticky dots, and everybody gets to decide what they think is most going to answer the brief. And I think this is another important point at this stage. Make sure people are voting for things that actually answer your brief, not just what they think is cool or nice or subjective. It's actually going to answer the problem that you're trying to answer the question and solve the problem. When you're running this for ideas, for creative ideas, marketing campaigns, at this point, and this is probably our biggest learning as we have run this many times over the last few years, at this point it's good to stop and reflect. Because you'll have a ton, like 40 ideas, and all of them could be relevant. Some will be more appropriate than others. But you want to think about how you could string them together, how potentially you could actually work up a few of those ideas and test those ideas, but also how you think about how it fits in with your broader plan, with your strategy. So you could have owned, earned, and paid media that you need to think about. Some of the ideas may be more appropriate for different channels, for different audiences. So we find that it's really helpful at this stage for us to take everything away, work it up a little bit more, and then play it back. Then the fun part, well, it's all fun, but this is a particularly fun day. So on day 4, you're actually making something that you can get feedback on. So if you were doing a digital journey, you would make a prototype screens and wireframes to walk through. If it was a product, you could actually physically make something. With creative ideas, you can build a prototype. So this is an example of one that we did, where we actually filmed a video on our iPhone, and then literally mocked it up in like Keynote. That was our client there. So you can make something that's more tangible, but you can also just mock up concepts. So you can do mock adverts. You can do technical proof of concept. So Matt is Matt was part of the team when we did this. This was for Prudential, looking at augmented reality, and did augmented reality have a role in customer comms? So we did actually make something that worked for that. Or you can just create a landing page. This was about understanding whether people would trust a proposition from Prudential, this specific proposition. So we just create a fake landing page and a journey. But it could equally be in a concept, an idea concept. Right. Friday, day 5, test with real users. Nielsen Group say that you can uncover 80% of usability issues with only 5 people. That's great if you're looking at a task, a digital journey, and you're asking people to complete a task. But again, with creative ideas, you're not asking them to complete a task necessarily. You want their feedback. You want to see how it makes them feel, how they would act or react to it. So you have to be really careful with the questions. So when you're designing your research on day 5, asking someone if they like it or not is not going to give you what you need, because you're going to get everybody's emotional reaction, opinion, as opposed to, would this make them go out and buy your product, or would this make them do what you want them to do? So my advice there would be to think carefully about the research the research questions and how they're structured. And you can use this approach for big projects. So this is a project that we worked on beginning of this year for Expedia. So this is a global campaign, well, for global markets. And we used a Google Venture Sprint to come up with the core creative concept for this, which was binaural 3D soundscape to experience the sounds of the USA through, well, there was a whole host of activity around it. So we had an experience with interactive video, we had 3D audio, we had a content hub, but the main idea was co-created with the client and their client, Brand USA, in a Google Venture Sprint. The first idea did not work. It didn't land. So the first creative idea that as a team we'd come up with and had all voted on, when we actually tested it, didn't land so well. So we had to stop, rework it a little bit, and then what we came up with then tested really, really well. So rather than spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on a campaign that was going to bomb, we figured that out within a week, not that much money, and we were able to fix it. So it worked really, really well. So you've got your big idea, what do you do next? So you've got a few options. You can stop there and report findings and not take it any further, that's fine. It may be that it's just not worked and there's no point investing any more time. You can say, do you know what, it kind of works, but we need to think about it a bit more. You can rerun the process, or you can take it forward and actually start to build it out. So you can see we love sprints. So it's about answering those big questions first. It's democratic, and I think this is particularly important for creative ideas, especially for marketing teams that are used to working with agencies. No offense, Dave, but creative directors, they've got egos. I think often what happens in agencies, and I can say this because I worked for one, you're getting ideas that somebody is emotionally attached to that are not often grounded in insight, and they have been developed over weeks. So everybody's really emotionally attached to them. It's in the agency's interest for you to buy their idea because they don't want to have to redo it and spend the budget again. By doing it this way, everybody's part of it. It's democratic, and you're making decisions quickly, and it's not about one person's ego. And it's efficient and fun, so you're getting through it quickly. Again, having worked in agency lands, this process can take weeks, months, whereas this way, you're getting through it in days rather than months. So final 3 tips. Trust the process. When you're going through this, every day, you panic. You think, oh my God, we're never going to come up with an idea. It's going to be awful. Panic, panic, panic. It's always fine, and that you always come up with a great idea. Get aligned. So you cannot be... Creativity, again, it's a bit of a myth that it just appears, that it's this black art. It's not. You can go through this process, but it is very structured, and you need to be really, really organized. So get yourself a good facilitator. Make sure you're keeping to time. Make sure everybody knows what they're doing. And read the book if you are going to run a Google Venture Sprint, because it's really awesome. And last but not least, have fun. Drink loads of water. Have loads of healthy snacks. Don't feed everyone biscuits and chocolate, because they will run out of steam in the afternoon. Don't give them burritos or pizza, which is what Nathan, our third founder, eats and then is asleep by 2 o'clock. Eat healthy and think big.